Welcome to the Gen Z Journey, where we work with you through an entrepreneurial lens to build a wholesome perspective on life and build both our business and personal dreams together. Join our community on Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn at Gen Z Journey. So, hello and welcome to another Gen Z Journey podcast. I am so excited today to introduce our guest. He's just a phenomenal human being, and yeah, I just can't wait to get him on. I always like to say at the start of these podcasts, you know, we want you to get to know our guests very intimately, get to know who they are, what they're doing, and what they want to do with their future. And so again, I just can't wait to introduce Jason and what he's doing here with Joyride. But we'll get on with that in 1 minute. I'm going to take you through his kind of background and how he got to where he is today and in the present, and then we'll have a look at what he's doing in the present, what the projects that he's working on, and the kind of philosophical approach that he's taking to his work at the moment. And then we'll look at how he's going to take that into the future and where he wants to go with Joyride and other projects that he's working on. But without further ado, Jason, let's just have a quick minute introduction of who you are and what your business is.
Well, thank you so much for that. That was a very, very cool intro. My name is Jason Carmon. That is my normal God-given name. My new name is Jason Joyride. That's like my industry name, I suppose. I'm a filmmaker and storyteller. I started making movies when I was 9 years old, picked up a camera and just really got into it. And yeah, I kind of got obsessed with it. I had a lot of interesting experiences happen on earlier in life, and I escaped and expanded into film and media and music. And more recently, I've gotten more into books and literature and I guess learning, because I think there's a difference between going to school at a younger age and actually learning in school or learning in life. And so I'm just a student of life, man. Yeah, I work as basically some of my non-official job titles at Joyride are like, I'm a concept director. I try to produce cultural movements. As you've said earlier, I'm an advocate of the people, as are you. I stole that from you. I love that. I try to be as visionary and helpful as I can be.
Absolutely. And we had a great discussion just before we hopped on this podcast about that kind of whole arena of who we are as individuals. And I love to have that conversation with people before we get on the podcast, because I get to really know them and then we can better convey it to you guys of who they are. So the question we always like to start off with, Jason, is what is entrepreneurship and what does it mean to you? And then we'll jump into kind of your background and go from there.
Yeah, entrepreneurship to me, it's weird because like I think everyone on some level is an entrepreneur, which is exciting but also like problematic. I would define it as dream chasing on some level. But it's the point where you turn a hobby or a dream into a viable business that serves other people at scale. That's how I would define entrepreneurship. And yeah.
No, I love that. Yeah. And definitely the way in which we convey it here for kind of our definition here at the Gen Z Journey is that it's a lifestyle, you know, and that's why I like you say that everyone is on it in some way, because it's a lifestyle that some people adopt fully, some people have elements of and I like that, you know. I like the fact that, yeah, everyone is on that journey. They're on some sort of personal development, which is very, very related to it. And yeah, I love that. So let's get into your background, right? Let's start with when you picked up that camera at 9 years old, and let's go to all the way where you are now with it. So let's start off with that. Why did you pick up a camera at 9 years old? What's the story behind that?
This will take a while to explain. So this might be the whole podcast, the second question. Essentially, it's funny. Like I guess it started with my uncle, Chip Carmon, rest in peace. He always told me I was a storyteller. I didn't know why, but he just told me that, and I believed it. He also taught me tons about technology and robotics and the future, I suppose. He passed away in 2013, which that had an impact on me. Same week as my grandmother, actually. And that had a big impact on me, I think, just because it showed me how short life can be. And while you're here, you should really make the best of it. And so I began trying to make the best of it. And then only until more recently, I realized making the best of it really is more about making it the best for others and knowing that you will find your peace in yourself and through whatever you do. But it's not like, I think there's an incredible amount of focus these days on, you have to be the workaholic, and you have to be an entrepreneur, or you have to be this or that, or you have to have a specific career. And I think in this modern society that is go, 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 Zooming, we've been defined as Zoomers. I think it's important that you remember what the point of life is to enjoy it and to try to help other people through it. Hence the name of my company, Joyride. I've had many names for the company throughout the years. Initially, it was Hang 10 Studios, Corinthian Studios, X and Hilo, and now it is Joyride. And those 4 name transitions have been an impactful part of my life, as well as the company's. But back to the main question, when I picked up a camera at 9 years old, it was because I was lazy. And my 5th grade teacher said, you can either write a book report, 2 pages. I was like, oh God, that's too much. Or you can make a video. Turns out writing the pages would have been easier. But I made a little video of basically, I don't even remember the book, but I remember making the book report video. And I remember it was like, one of the shots was me holding a paper bomb with tape on it, throwing it off the camera and hearing a sound effect that I added. And it was horrible, like absolutely horrible. And I remember thinking, oh, this is so good. And then going into the class and they were just like, oh, cool. And I was like, fuck you guys, man. I was like, wow. And then there's this other kid who did a Lego like stop motion animation that was way better than mine. Everyone was like, that was cool. And I was like, but it was I remember that. And it was really fun. And then I got like, I became obsessed with it because I was like, how can I get better? I want to be good. I want to make stop motion Lego. And I never actually did, to my recollection, but I always enjoyed playing with Legos. Huge Lego fan. Would love to be sponsored by Lego or sponsor them. With Legos, bro. I love Lego. Anyways, it's really cool because I have like my nephew. He plays with Legos a lot, and it's cool. I got to play with like him playing with some Legos, and it was like amazing. Such a
dude. Now you mentioned that, I haven't actually played with Lego for so long. I kind of miss it. I loved it. I absolutely loved Lego as a kid.
It should be like a therapy thing you can do, like in therapy, because they have like EMDR, they have like cognitive like there should be like Lego therapy or Lego P.
No, I like that.
Play with Legos and you talk and listen to a story. But that's actually a good key point. I spent a lot of my childhood as an only child of 2 entrepreneurs who were both dentists, my lovely mom and dad. I spent a lot of time making Legos and listening to audiobooks. And mostly Lord of the Rings fantasy kind of stuff. I love Lord of the Rings. I love Ranger's Apprentice is probably my favorite fictional book series of all time. I continually go back to it. Not a super well-known series, but and rather simple, but it's profound. And I will, if I'm ever having a panic attack or I feel alone at night, I'll put on one of those books and just be transported into whatever world within the Ranger's Apprentice world, whether it's Gallica or it's Castle Redmont or Seaside Five, all these nerdy places that I just adore because of, literature and storytelling. Hence me becoming obsessed with storytelling. And so through that process, what really I think locked me in to what I've done for the past 5 to 10 years was I called my uncle one day and I was like, okay, Uncle Chip, something important I need to tell you. And he was like, okay. I think I'm 9 at the time. He was like,
9.
Yeah. He's like, okay, what is it? And I was like, I need to make a movie. And he's like, okay, let's keep talking. Where most adults would be like, shut up. But like my family was always so supportive until they're not, which I'll explain.
Yeah.
They're the best. And so he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, I want to make a shot-for-shot remake of Pirates of the Caribbean, but with plush toy bears called Pirates of the Caribbean. It's my pitch.
That's brilliant.
So he's like, bloody do it. So I paint my blue wheelbarrow black to make it the Black Pearl. I get a teddy bear dressed as Captain Jack Sparrow, get a green bed sheet from Bed Bath & Beyond and film the bear in front of the bloody thing. And I did like 3 shots and it turned out horrible. And then I was like, okay, I need to green screen it though. So at my time, I was stupid. I edited all of my videos with Flip video camera on their like proprietary editing software that like no one could use. And like, well, you could use it. It was just like, it wasn't easy to use and you couldn't do green screening. So I was like, okay, I need a green screening application. So I told my uncle and I was like, I need green screening, and he was like, oh, Just ask your parents from Apple MacBook Pro 2012 13-inch. So I'm 9, and I turn to my parents. I'm like, hey, mom, dad. And they're like, what's up? And they're like, hey, so Uncle Chip said I need a computer. And they're like, okay. And I was like, how about this one? And they're like, oh, the $3,000 one. And I was like, what's money? And they were like, oh, it's a lot, and we're not buying it for you. And I was like, what the hell? Like, you guys usually buy me Christmas presents. And they're like, yeah, but they're usually not $3,000. And I was like, oh, all right. And so I would have been defeated in that moment, but then my parents, who are naturally entrepreneurs, flipped the script on me, and they said, but we'll help you save for it. So 2 years go by, 2 full years selling lemonade in the summer, mowing lawns. I've saved up about like $2,400 of the price tag, something around there. And during this time, I'm going to the Art and Fair Mall, Sacramento, baby. Going to the Art and Fair Mall, which is this mall we have in Sacramento. And I'm going to the Apple store every single time because I'll go there and meet these amazing Apple bar geniuses who taught me about computers. And they just were there teaching about computers. This was more when Apple was like less of a sales-based like storefront. I guess they're still this way. Like Apple is really community-based, which is amazing to me. But at the time, they were like I didn't even know stuff was being sold. Maybe that was just me being naive, but like, it was always just, you could go in and play with the toys that they had there. And so for me, I would play with the Final Cut Pro and Motion 5, Final Cut Pro X and Motion 5 that they had. And they had these footage of Audi cars, like on the screen. I would like edit with them. And then I remember one day it was like proprietary Apple footage of Audi cars that they used for Final Cut Pro. And I was like, hey, could you put this on a hard drive for me? And they were like, no. And then my guy was like, yeah, we could do that. And so he put it on a hard drive for me. And I think I edited it eventually, but like, I was just like, yeah, I got this cool ass footage. I could not afford to film it. And, but one night I'm really depressed because we're at the Art and Fair Mall. I have a couple $100 left to make, and I have to go to Boy Scout camp. And I'm eating dinner with my family at BJ's, which is like a weird restaurant chain in California. And I'm kind of sad because like, I was like, can we go to the Art and Fair? Can we go to the Apple store? And they're like, no, you can't go to the Apple store. And I'm like, we got to eat. And I'm like, fine. And then they're all giggling and grinning like they know something I don't, which infuriates me. And they're like, okay, but do you want to go up when dinner's over? And I was like, fine. I was like, no. Yes, let's go. And so we head up to the store. And I'm like passive aggressively playing with the Mac, just kind of annoyed. Like, why don't I own one? I hate this. I'm like so close yet so far. I'm about to go to a scout camp where I'll be unplugged from technology for a full week. Like just bloody, like mad. And then a blue shirt, an Apple genius walks up to me. He's like, hey, is this yours? And I'm like, no, this isn't mine. It's the store's, dude. Come on. And he's like, no, is this yours? And he's holding a Mac and a shopping bag. And I'm like, and I look over to my parents and they're barely standing still and they're filming. And I'm like, so
no way.
The Mac down and he's like, this is yours. And he unboxes it with me. And I was like, oh my God. One of the most emotionally charged experiences in my life was this thing that I'd worked for 2 years, this MacBook Pro, which it became the epitome of life for me during those 2 years. I was like, I need it to make my Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I need it. And I can remember opening it, taking it home, just being excited about it. And then finally 2 years have gone by. And I go to plug in the footage from my Pirates of the Caribbean movie. It's only a few shots. I go to plug in the footage. I bring in an iMovie and I'm going to green screen it. And it doesn't fucking work at all. Like literally the green screen looks shit. It does not work. And I'm like, no. And in that moment, that's what did it. That's what made me where I am today.
Really?
If my parents had bought that, so a few magical things happened there that were beyond my control.
Let's summarize that. Summarize those things that really impacted you for that story.
It was that they made me save the money for it. If they just bought it for me flat out, I wouldn't have valued it. And because I gave it a value that was intrinsic to me beyond the financial price tag on it, because, you can have like a Lamborghini or like a Nissan, and that doesn't determine your happiness necessarily. It can be part of it, But like that's your choice if it's going to impact you. But at the end of the day, a material object really won't do it, in my opinion. If they just bought it, I probably would have just deleted iMovie and downloaded Minecraft and never touched video editing again. Granted, I love Minecraft. It's one of the best video games in the world. Still downloaded it. Shout out Notch and Mojang in Minecraft. And love that game. I still play that. I still have a grown adult with my friends. We'll get in a room together, drink some beers, eat some good food, and play Minecraft together and build a world, because Minecraft is a creative, beautiful game. I wish everyone played it. It's amazing. I don't like the bad guys, though. They're annoying. But I guess you can play peaceful mode. Highly recommend Minecraft if you haven't heard of it, whoever hasn't. And I would have deleted it right there on the spot, except for the fact that my parents made me work for it. So I was like, oh yeah, like I have to make something of this. And then the fact that it didn't work. If it had worked flawlessly the way I imagined, like just boom, perfect green screen, I would have never learned what I've learned today about visual effects. Flash forward a few years, I make a short film called Vacuum Wars, and it ends with me getting an $80,000 scholarship to University of Arizona Technology, or the UAT. It was the second night of the primary election with Donald Trump and Hillary. I'll never forget that night. I was in my grandpa's and I got the tweet saying, hey, congrats on the win.
Tweet?
Yeah. So I made the short film. This is in 2014, 2015, during a pretty weird period of my life. And I make this short film. I really dedicate a lot of my time to it, and I post it, and I don't really like it. But my mom was like, you should really submit this to this film festival I found. You should really submit this. I'm like, shout out, Mom. But my mom is always right. And I've learned this, and I've learned to love her these days. I always loved her, but you know what I mean? Like, everyone's like, Mom. But like, now I'm like, I love her. And she was like, you should submit it to this thing. And I was like, okay, fine. So I submitted this film. Didn't hear back for months. And then one night during the primary election, I'm on Twitter, and I get a tweet saying, congrats, Jason, you just won best visual effects in the country. And I was like, what are you talking about? And then the guy was holding a little trophy on a red carpet. And I'm like, what? And then I was like, I tweeted back and I was like, what is this? And the guy replies and he's like, oh, this is the All-American High School Film Festival. And I was like, and then like, I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, you won best out of 3,000 people. And I was like, holy hell. Like, wasn't best storytelling. I would love to connect with the people who won like all the other genres, because we could all just totally come together and make an amazing movie, I'm sure. But I won best visual effects and a full ride scholarship. And I was like, what? Incredibly thankful. They sent me like some free software, and I've won a few competitions throughout my life from bigger companies that like really impacted me. Like NVIDIA did this competition called Pimp Your Studio. You had to be 18 years old to enter. So I had my dad pretend to be me. And we won that one, got a great laptop out of that one. And then I did another one for LG through Linus Tech Tips, where it was like for a free monitor. And during the process of filming it, I actually broke the monitor, which sucked. But I got to go to Canada because my dad was like, let's just go to the party. I got to meet Linus. He's an amazing, amazing guy. Wow. And so anyways, flashback to when I was a child. If all of stuff had worked out for me, I would have never had these great experiences that I just mentioned, because I wouldn't have wanted to get better. I'm like, okay, I'm good.
And you know what really strikes me about that story that you just mentioned there about that whole experience of your parents flipping the script, right, and be like, no, you can earn it. Let's do this, and you working for those 2 years. For me, that 2-year period just summarized like a huge personal development experience that people go through for their life. It was like a great summary of like a huge entrepreneur story, because it is about that. You visited the Apple store pretty much every day. You reinforce that image, that goal in your mind.
And I wish I could say that was my doing. I wish I could say, yeah, I knew what I was doing, but I had no clue. My parents did, though. My parents sure as hell did.
But that's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty. You've had no idea, but it's now you look back on it and you're like, oh my goodness, how profound is that of a story, you know?
Why today, I'm now a workaholic 20-year-old due to the world we live in. It's like, you got to make money, you got to have a career, you got to have social status. And then there's this guy named Naval Ravikant and a few other philosophers that we've talked about who really have an amazing impact on the youth and culture. And one of the impacts that they've had is like this idea that like, maybe that's not what life is about. Maybe it's more than status and financial gain in that game. I'll never forget watching this one live stream from Naval where he's talking about how he won the money game. And I'm like, what does that mean? And what it means, I think, in my interpretation, is that he won it because he achieved his goal and it was good enough for him. Now Naval's quite rich, but I think a lot of people, like right now, I just won a money game. I do not have, I would say, even a percentage of a fraction of what he has financially. But my goal was to make enough money to move to LA and eventually create my own stuff here. And I'm doing that as of 4 days ago. I've just moved here and I'm incredibly lucky to be able to achieve that goal.
Yeah, I just want to mention that actually. Huge shout out to Jason for even coming on this week. I had a phone call with him late last week. He said, yeah, I'm moving to LA kind of like tomorrow. Let's come back next week. We'll record. And this guy's been insane. He moved down there as of, like you said, 4 days ago and has been setting up since, but he still found time to come on the podcast. So huge shout out to you.
Shout out you and Gens in general. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm passionate about people, like you said it best, an advocate for people. And like, for me, it's like, I really believe in our generation and I want to make films, actually musicals. Like, so that's where I'm going in the future, is I'm making musicals that impact our generation and seek to define us in a positive light and in a light that can help change the world for the better.
Awesome. We'll get onto that later. Let's not give them too much right now. Let's continue with your story about moving to LA and continuing that.
Yeah. So actually, it's a flashback back to when I was 9. That happened. Got the computer through middle school and high school. Made a bunch of short films, and then I was like, okay, I'm 18, and I don't want to go to college. I was really anti-college, so I was like, I got to become a millionaire before the time I graduate. That didn't happen. But I was completely twisted over this idea of money because I had a weird relationship with money. I had this idea that like, if I don't achieve my financial goals, I'm going to be screwed and I won't be able to be free. And to an extent it was true, but it was mostly true because the way I thought about it. It was my perspective on the issue. So I remember touring a bunch of colleges eventually because my parents begged me to, and I remember falling in love with one school. And I was like, oh my God, it's in LA. I love the school. I'm not going to name it, but I loved it. I'm also super anti-film major, which is weird. Because it's like what? But like, I don't know, like film majors to me and art majors are confusing because it's like, can't you learn that on your own? I learned everything I knew on the internet, but the reality is that like you can, but like learning about it in a creative, collaborative environment allows you to meet amazing people and curate a friend group and a peer group of people who are like-minded. And that's something that I lack, which is currently something I'm seeking to build here in Los Angeles. So if you want to create stuff, hit me on the DM. Anyways, but I toured this school and I was like, it's amazing. I want to go here. I applied also like late, also like by a day I was late. And also like, I did not have the grades to go to this school, and the school cost $90,000 a year, which for me is just a little bit out of my price range. And I didn't want to take on a student loan. They rejected me, thankfully. And from that point on, that was a great moment. I never forget the rejection. I was like, what? I remember all the other film schools rejected me too. USC, UCLA. I don't think I applied. No, I did. I applied for every film school after years of saying I don't like film schools, and none of them accepted me. And it was a little unfortunate because I was used to winning. I was used to getting wins through NVIDIA, through Adobe, through Writer Duet, through these companies that were doing like challenges basically. Through, I don't remember the other ones, but I won a few challenges. And so I was like, I can do it. So I decided to make a feature film that summer. And I did. I made a full feature film in 2 weeks. We wrote, shot, and edited it 2 years ago in 2 weeks. Yeah. And it was around August 23rd, the premiere of The Feeling in downtown Vacaville. They reopened the DeVille Theater, which is a theater that was initially a Nickelodeon and was now being reopened kind of for us, but also for the community. And everyone shows up for the screening and the film's not rare. That's not ready. So we can't show them. It's my fault. I didn't have the film ready. I was procrastinating. I was stressed. I was so focused on achieving it the way it needed to be done. And also, pro tip, don't schedule a release until your thing is done. Really, or don't set a release date and set expectations. Just drop something. Either release something without any expectation, or if it's a big thing, finish it. Make sure it's finished. Like sit on it for like 6 weeks and then release it. Because otherwise you'll do what I did, which was like I wrote and edited it and shot it in 2 weeks, eventually 4 weeks, because we were building out this production cycle of an overlapping 10-week plan. So for 10 weeks, we were for every 2 weeks, we were working on 5 separate films. Development, writing, pre-production, or it was development and writing, pre-production, production, post, and marketing.
Oh my God.
In theory, it's a great system. The issue is that it was only one person that was really doing all the jobs. Like if we had one person on each of those sectors, I think the model can work. Because I did it for 2 weeks. Like we literally wrote, shot, and edited it. And then it was the editing where it fell apart because I was trying to prep the next one. And the theater itself was having a ton of projector issues that weren't getting solved, which is really tragic. And at the end of the day, it was my fault. And I kind of alienated the people at the theater, which I feel bad about. I'd said some rude things to them on Facebook. Don't recommend putting your emotions on the internet when you're mad, but I did. And that was way after the event. And another part of it too is they promised us a different price, and you know, they're really great people. And I want the business to work out for them as much as I want mine to. And we're all supportive, but I did have some choice words for them. And so the premiere failed initially because of me. And then the second premiere went pretty well, but there was a lot of audio issues the day of that I had to scramble to fix that the theater should have fixed for us. Doesn't matter. We made it work, and premiered the film called The Feeling. It's on Amazon Prime. You can get it. It's called The Feeling. It's a really horrible Hallmark movie. But if you need a cheesy story or you want to see locations of where I was born, we filmed on location in Vacaville. We filmed at Ren's Cafe, the diner off of I-80, going eastbound or westbound, and that is my home diner. We filmed on Buck Avenue. We closed down Main Street to film on my home street because the whole movie is about a group of older folk who all come from different political, racial, economic, and spiritual backgrounds, who are all friends at this coffee shop at Ren's. The reason they're all friends is because when I grew up, there's this amazing donut place called Donut Queen, and all of these folks would stay at Donut Queen. I remember every morning I'd get donuts or I'd get coffee or I'd be biking to school because I worked at a coffee shop nearby from 4 to 7 a.m. before school for a semester. And I'd bike by and I'd see these old folks sitting in there just talking, eating donuts and coffee, just talking. I'd be like, what are they talking about? They're always incredibly nice to me, but I was like, I'm stupid. I don't want to talk to you. I wish I did. But some of them still go there, but there's like a new crowd. And so that's what the movie's about. It's about them. And it's about this idea of a lost dream, because the DeVille Theater was like a lost dream to the community, to me. And so I wanted to reopen it. And I called the landlord and was like, can we potentially reopen this? Someone was looking at doing it. And I had conversations that helped show that there was interest in the community. I didn't fully execute on it, which is a shame. Didn't have enough money. And they were like sucking the cash out of us for paying for the theater, which was initially what we were told we would get help promoting it. And we didn't get help. But it's okay. Worked out. So the entire film was about this ice cream parlor named Fenton's Ice Cream Parlor getting reopened by Joe Fenton, who it was his dad's dream to open it. And then this capitalist real estate like shark comes in to take it over, hostile takeover. And then he opens his own, and then he buys the other one, so it's out of business. And then Joe says, screw you, I'm going to grassroots it, and I'm going to make 7 Heaven, which is the name of the ice cream parlor. And so amazing pictures and visuals from it. My best friend, one of my best friends, Patrick Green, and his dad, we helped, they made the set for it. They made an ice cream parlor. We attached it to the front of the building. We shut down the streets, literally like stuff I didn't think I'd be able to do at the age of 18. But the city of Vacaville was just like, let's come together and make this happen. And we made a film that really embodies Vacaville. And I hope to do it again. I'm planning on going back in a month or two to film another one. But that was a special moment. That was a special moment. And hard moment. But if it's not hard, it's not worth it.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So hard that I got into debt. So on Christmas Day, my family said, all right, you're 18. You have 2 options. Option 1, go to school and get a job and leave the house in a year. or get a job and leave the house in a year. Okay. Okay. All right, cool. So I'm going to school at the time. I'm studying computer science and physics, which I became overnight a math nerd. I'm not very good at it. I'm reading more on how to get good at it and trying to take time to study. But I really believe in the idea of being a polymath, the idea of knowing a lot of stuff and trying to learn. So did that, and then was best semester of school I've ever had because I was genuinely curious. And I wish I had even been more curious. If it's one recommendation I can give to anyone in the world, I'm sure you'll agree, it's just be curious.
Oh, 100%.
And to wrap up the story, sorry, I told you it would take a while.
No.
I got hired at this company called 2K. I didn't think I'd get hired there. I was unqualified. I did not have the degree that was required. But I made a video as well as a resume, and a video resume talking about why I might be a good candidate. And they accepted me. And I will never forget the family that I met at 2K. From my coworkers to my bosses, there's some amazing humans at that company. They're releasing 2K20, comes out this Friday, baby. So be sure to get 2K21. Sorry, 21, not 20.
21.
They're ahead. They're a year ahead. That's why they're special. Is because they are a year ahead of everything. 2K21, get it Friday. Follow Ronnie 2K. So I worked for Ronnie partly through the year, taking a bunch of his photos, and he's got a new content creator now, which is an amazing human. So support 2K. They're a great company.
And so, but tell me, so what, as a game, what's a video editor doing at 2K? What's their role there?
So I essentially just edited marketing campaigns. And what was cool is you have to source music. So I sourced music. I had friends who make music, and I said, hey, let me use your beat for this, and got them paid through the placement of the beat and got their shit played on social ads without credit, but they got paid. Or they at least got offered to get paid. And through there, I met a lot of the people who I now work with separately as a music video director. During that summer, I made a video called Splash, just for fun, with my friends. We filmed it in my front driveway. You can go check it out on joyride.biz, and you can see the behind the scenes story where it's just all of us talking about for 20 minutes how we just made this thing for fun. It went semi-viral. It didn't go viral, but it went like a little bit. It did some numbers, and some label people start reaching out to me. And they're like, hey, do you want to come make music videos? And I'm like, I work at a company. And they're like, okay, but do you want to do it? And I'm like, yeah, but like, no. And so I talked with a mentor who happens to be someone at the company. And I'm like, hey, I kind of want to quit and do my own thing. And he was like, do it. And I was like, cool. So I quit, top of the year, no money in my bank account, moved down to LA in January. I was here. Damn near killing myself editing, barely getting rest, just really overworked and very isolated in LA, which was really unfortunate. And then COVID-19 hit, and I decided, okay, I'm going to go back home because I don't want to get sick because I was in a co-living situation that wasn't very isolated, and I am lonely down here. So I decided to moved home. And on quarantine, I did something called the 100-Day Challenge, where I basically did a set number of things for 100 days that improved me as a human. The morning would start out with meditation, journaling, intense workout. Then after that, I would do music. I made one song a day for 73 days, 83. I'm almost done with it. And made a piece of content every day for around the same amount. I wasn't 100% perfect with it. Saved my money, made money. I became the creative director for Rico Nasty during that time period as well through a connection I made with her. And now I'm creative directing for artists such as Corine, my friends, and myself even, as I'm about to release my own musical project within the next couple months as a musical. So my artist name is Jason Joyride. Also Austin Jack. That is my other artist name. But my real name, as you know, is Jason Carmon. That's the person who directs it. And it's like having alter egos on the screen, because it's like there's the actor who's Austin Jack, and then there's the creative director who's Jason Joyride, and there's me. It's all the same person. And I'm only able to be multiple people because I have an amazing team at Joyride that supports me. Love you guys. Thank you. And now we're getting ready to take the industry on a joyride.
Yeah, man, that's great. I mean, a beautiful story to lead us to where you are now on that journey. That's amazing to hear. And so I want to hear more about Joyride and kind of where it all started. and also kind of where it is now. You mentioned a little bit about kind of the project you've been working on, but what's some of the stuff you've done with Joyride in the past? How big is your team? Like, tell us all about Joyride.
So Joyride has always been, it's existed ever since I made films, and it is the excuse for me to be creative.
I love that. I just want to stop you right on that, because that's exactly that's what the podcast has also become for me. It's an excuse to connect with such creative people and create something. It's just an excuse to. There's nothing else about it. Like, that's it.
That's exactly it. That's exactly the goal of any company, I think, is it's an excuse to do something for the betterment of the world, or it should be that.
Yeah,
and, like I said, it's always been Hang 10 Studios, Corinthian Studios, X Nihilo. I got it tattooed on my arm, X Nihilo, because I thought, if I get it tattooed and I fail, I look kind of stupid. And then I got this tattoo, which is the new Joyride logo. Also happens to be the State of Wyoming's logo, which is just a little bit funny to me. But I guess I'm a resident of Wyoming. Didn't mean to be, but it's pretty cool to be, I suppose. But Joyride is, we share the logo with the State of Wyoming. So Wyoming, please don't sue us. Also my heritage is that of cowboys, So on my mom's side, Okies, we were cowboys in the Wild West. On my dad's side, we immigrated from the Czech Republic, I believe, Czechoslovakia. Wow. I don't really know my origin that well. And as a result, I am a first, second, third, fourth generation American. On my dad's side. On my mom's side, I don't know. Someone said we were tracked back to the 13th program.
Oof.
But I don't know if that's true, because, about the Dust Bowl in Oklahoma, kind of wiped everything out.
Yeah.
Apparently, our entire generation got wiped out in the Dust Bowl, or the history of our generation. But we were really poor. I know that. And on both sides of the family, incredibly poor. My grandparents worked their asses off, created some property and real estate to raise their kids. Their kids worked their asses off, and those are to my parents. And now I am living as a result of their blood, sweat, and tears. And which is beautiful, but at the same time, you have a lot of people in America who are suffering from a very similar issue of lack of socioeconomic, equality. And it's tough. It's tough. Racism runs rampant here, and it's unfortunate. And it's something that Joyride fights. So Joyride is about taking the industry on a joyride, and it's about what that means to us. Is it means you take something that's not yours and you give it back. You take it on a joyride. You're just having fun. So Joyride is about taking a car or taking a culture or idea on a joyride and returning it to where it was better than it was before, which is a Boy Scout idea. Boy Scouts, they'd always tell me, if you do something, leave it better than how it was before. And that's Joyride. And the team is currently me, but soon there'll be a few employees. It's just me as of now, though, which is cool. But I'm excited to grow it. We have some onboarding. We're in the middle of an onboarding process right now. Okay. That's all I can say legally. And we're very small, really tiny company. Our net worth is probably like 30 grand. Mm-hmm. The company's net worth, very tiny. We'll see how much it grows. Personally, I don't care how much money we make. I'm more interested in making really quality stuff. Because I believe if you make quality stuff, whether it's a musical or music video, the money will follow you. Or the success, whatever that looks like. And for me, what success looks like is collaborating with creatives such as yourself and such as the amazing artists I get to work with. So I'm doing that now. So in my mind, I'm successful.
Exactly. And look at you, you're happy and you love what you're doing. And is there much more to life than that? I don't think so. You're loving it and you're working on it. And
likewise, that's brilliant. I see the same energy in you in this podcast.
I absolutely love it. I probably spend too much time on it and not enough time on college, but that's a conversation for another time.
College, I think it's important to remember that college, what is college here for? Mm-hmm. What's the purpose of it?
Yeah, it's a question I constantly come back to, and I speak to with a lot of people, and it's good. I think it's and that's another thing kind of to say as well. I think it's good to constantly revisit some questions that are just kind of bigger bigger than anything, you know. Like that's something I've learned from a couple of other guests that we had on. Actually, we were talking about kind of philosophies before we got on. One of the guests we had on called Ron Pekarski. That man, I cannot summarize how amazing his mindset was. You know, his perspective over his life, it was just incredible, just absolutely incredible. About he constantly asking him those questions of like, what is my purpose? What's the meaning of my life? What am I happy? What makes me happy? And like, just some of the stories and stuff that he came out with because of that were just phenomenal strength, phenomenal, just so wise. So yeah, I think, yeah, that's just a huge part of it, you know, asking those questions regularly.
I mean, you know, I had a mentor once that gave me an exercise that really helped me. And it basically, the exercise is to identify what you want. His piece of advice is just, it's basically, his advice is to know what you want. Be simple, know what you want, and be okay with it changing. That's my advice. Because it's like, when he initially told me that, I was like, I know what I want. And then it was so rigid and so focused on money and fame that I was like, oh, this is stupid. And it's only recently that I've been changing it to be like, okay, I care more about serving people, having quality relationships with interesting people, staying healthy, working out regularly, eating very well, staying active, becoming mentally healthy. You know, there's goals within that too. Like, I'm not the most mentally healthy human because I spend a lot of time working, not enough time sleeping, not enough time eating the proper foods, not enough time working out, and substances too. I'm a pretty sober guy for the most part, but you know, I've met very few college kids or kids our age that are completely sober, and it is my goal to become that soon. I'm close, but like, there's still, you know, everyone fights with demons in one way or another, and yeah.
Oh, that's true. That's 100% true. And on something on that as well is like, I love what you said about it being fluid. It will change, and like you said, if it was so focused on money and fame and all of that, and ironically, when you want that thing that bad, it won't happen. But then when you realize, okay, no, I want to help people, want to be a good person, actually that's more likely to happen because you're attracting people into your life, whoever it may be, and so actually that money, that fame, all of that is actually more likely if you go the complete opposite direction of it, you know, which I just think is just such an amazing thing to kind of comprehend, right?
I was connected with you through Harry Beard. Harry is a huge influencer. I found him once when I was researching a short film I was making called Web Baby. You can find it if you look hard enough, but it's it may or may not be a URL extension on my website. If you find it, it is there, and it is very interesting, but it is hidden. Good luck.
A little golden egg there for people.
I know it's up there. If you can find it on the website, good for you. But it's hidden because the website doesn't have a menu. So you have to know what URL you want. And the URLs are pretty obscurely named. So, you know, don't brute force it either because it won't work. Anyways, so you can dig on my Instagram and find a hint as to where it is. Like, it's pretty easy to find a hint. I'll probably post hints too. But I met him through researching this film because I wanted to tell a story about Web Baby. What's Web Baby? Web Baby is me. Web Baby is you. We are web babies. We were born on the internet. We were bloody born in the age of the internet. And that's important because it means we're taught by the internet. We are pruned and curated by the internet. And what we see and consume makes who we are. And so the story is about 3 men, young boys, myself included, I act, pruning. We're gardeners. We're internet gardeners. So we're trimming leaves of web pages. And in the sky, there's this large cursor, a mouse, a literal mouse that chases people around and grabs people up. And the fear is that you're going to be grabbed up. And one day, my character finds a hole in the internet, a bright white light that's beautiful, and the mouse comes. It's going to get me. It's going to find me. And I'm like, and I run away. And I go back to my home. I go to sleep and I wake up. It's a normal day. And then all of a sudden the house opens up, the top of the roof, and a mouse is going to get me. It's going to get me. It's my time to go. And I run and I run and I run and I run. And I get to the white part and I either have to go through the hole or get taken by the mouse. So I go through the hole. And it results in me being somewhere new and having to make a choice. Morning. And it results in me having to make this new choice. You can finish watching the film. You can find it there. And see. I think I'm gonna do a screening for it here in LA soon. If anyone's interested,
Oh, wow.
I don't know. We'll have to see if the interest is piqued. But yeah, cool film. And but point being is that during the research process of this film, I contacted Harry because I saw he did a TEDx, and I was like, "Yo, this dude's amazing." And we had like a long phone call, and Harry's like one of the most he's one of the most bloody excited people I've ever met. He's always talking and communicating and like sharing people to other people and just being so generous. And he's hooked me up with so many people this year.
Huge shout out to Harry. No, he's been a huge help to the podcast as well. He's just got I'd say huge heart, and like you said, very, very generous, and just a lovely guy. Just a really, really lovely guy, you know.
Yes, he really cares about the generation, and he cares. Yeah, he cares, man. Because another thing that we've talked about I talked about on Thread a little bit, but I talked with him about too, is that like we are no longer just citizens of a country. We are citizens of the internet, which therein means we're citizens of a network. We are citizens of the world, which means we kind of are responsible to care and know about what's going on in the world. And even if we can't directly impact it, like it's our responsibility to be part of a solution, you know, whatever that looks like. And it's tough because like some solutions are, you know, something I'm trying to cope with is that, you know, you can't do everything and you can't solve every problem. And that's hard to cope with. But I definitely advocate for Gen Z educating themselves, get excited about learning, become curious, and focus on a way to change the world in your unique way.
Absolutely. I'm gonna write that down. That's huge. About the citizens of the internet. That's huge. That's massive. Like that's.
Yeah, and it's scary. Yeah, it can be scary. So you gotta keep your morals straight when you're trying to help the world, because it's very easy, I think, to become tainted by the world. You know, to be of the world basically versus for the world. I think there's a stark difference, and it's an important one. You know, put others before yourself, and you know, there's the idea of do unto others as you would do to yourself, and then there's the idea of like do unto others as you would have them do to yourself, or as they would have them be done to them. It's a little complicated, but like I don't fully understand it. You know, I don't know anything really, but I do know that I want to give back to the world as much as I can through storytelling.
And so tell us more about that then in the future of. So how does that portray itself? Like, what are some of the stuff that you're working on now? What do you want it to look like more in the future? Where you want to go with Joyride? Let's get a bit of insight into that. So when we circle back with you in 6 months to a year's time, we can ask you about those things and see what's pivoted, see what's kind of like been executed on, see, you know, all of the different things. Give us a little overview.
No, it's an exciting and a terrifying question, because, you know, you can say one thing is going to happen and another thing happens. But my goals as of now are to make and release some musicals written by and starring me and other people, and as well as to make more music videos and do more creative direction through other artists. My kind of goal with that, that's really my service, I think, is helping artists find their vision, helping artists curate their vision, because everyone has a story, man. Like no one doesn't have a story. Some people are like, my life's not interesting, I don't have a story. Bullshit. Yes, it is. You just don't know how to tell it. You just don't know how to tell a story. And so I think if people can learn to tell their stories in effective ways, in safe ways, and in ways that enlighten other people, that's the way to do it. And you see tons of people who do that, you know. David Dobrik being an amazing example of someone who does that. A lot of YouTubers do it well, but you also see a lot of famous people kind of go crazy after a while. I don't think David Dobrik has, but it's really easy to get lost in the sauce. It's easy to get lost in the sauce. Like you have to try to keep your head on straight and put other people first.
Absolutely. And is there any kind of more specific goals for Joyride in the long term, or not kind of just in line with that, making the musicals, etc.
Yeah, we want to be a studio. You know, I'm the CEO right now, but my goal is to retire rather quickly. Like I don't want to be the CEO of Joyride for very long, because I think that breeds favoritism over my projects. So for example, my goal is to be a director, actor, writer, singer, music producer, influencer, everything. I'm gonna do it all. I like being a CEO. But I want Joyride to be a studio that is for other creatives who don't have access, or maybe the knowledge or the capability to do things for their brand, to tell their story. Even though they do, they just kind of need to know how to do it. So I want Joyride to be a resource for that. But I don't want to own anyone's stuff. Like, I want it to be more like a library rather than a company. Obviously, companies need money, so we'll make money somehow. We're figuring that out.
Exactly. And again, a perfect example of like figure that out later. That's not the main motive, you know.
Because the main problem I see is we have too many kids online who are depressed, who are going through horrible things in their life, and they don't know how to fix it. And they don't know who to go to. They don't know how to share their story in a safe way. They don't know how to get help. And so that's a passion point for me is kids with tough childhoods, because I had a tough childhood. And, I have a heart for people who have tough lives on some level, because I think everyone's life is tough on some level. Everyone's going through their own battle and journey. And I think it's really important to try to help people in whatever way you can, while not giving too much of yourself away. And that's Joyride's goal, is to really, I have it written down, because my memory is not the best. So I write a lot of things down. Yeah, we have goals of making movies. We want to have films in film festivals, Kansas, Tribeca. We want to make great music. We want to influence culture. I'm reading a song. And going back to our meeting notes from last week with my team, we're really excited about, we want to contribute to important conversations. We want to talk about things, but not portraying them in the way that they currently are. We want to talk about tough things and maybe portray them in a new way. And we believe joy is the form of resistance. So we would like to resist joy. We believe representation is a huge part of this as well, making sure that we have diversity in the projects we do. We believe in social commentary. We believe in business ethics. We believe that an artist should create their own content and oversee it, and that they should own it. Not other people should own the content. And at Joyride, we're in the business of helping people create and own IP by themselves. So we are not a record label or a movie studio in the sense that we believe in, you do a movie with us and we own the movie, which is hard, because it's like, okay, well, how do we get paid and how do you get paid efficiently? Because movies can be rather expensive to produce. And so, you've had amazing pioneers from the early days. You had the golden age of Hollywood, where studios tried to help creatives and filmmakers and storytellers in groups by owning everything and helping them achieve it. But then antitrust happened, and then you have Blockbuster, home video, and TV, and then it transitions into Netflix and stuff. And now we have this new age of media, which is social media, and like all this change. And it's like exciting, because there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's just about sharing these stories. And my goal at Joyride is to help people tell their story one way or another. That's really our goal. And right now we have to only do it with select clients, because like we need money. But the goal is to eventually expand it into a model where we don't have to take a lot of money or resource from a client. We can still make the money, and they can make the money proportionally. But then once they've made it to a certain level in the industry, we can step away and let them do what they want to do. That's kind of the goal. It's like a development label, I suppose, but like but on the visual creative side. Like, yeah, we do music. I do music, but like, that's my point, is like, I'm an artist. Like Jason Carmon is just an artist at Joyride. I'm just using the resources we have, but Joyride's not going to own what I do. I will own it. It will be my own label. So it's the goal, and my own finances too. And if I continue to work with Joyride, then I'll continue to get money. But we want to sign deals on a project by project basis. We don't really want to sign deals like, you owe us 4 albums and we'll give you an advance. we're not a financial institution, so we don't really do advances. We want to see that you put in work, and we'll help you with what we can help you with. So yeah. And then our core idea is focusing on conscious creative freedom. How do we do that? We're more about the art than the money, focusing on staying true to ourselves, which is hard. And we're focusing on the long game. You know, we're focusing on being a beacon of light to anyone that has creative ideas and being a safe haven to that and bringing joy. Like, that's Joyride. Welcome to the Joyride, baby.
Welcome to
I love it. So as we begin to kind of wrap things up and finish up the interview here, there's a final question that we always finish with people as well. And if you need a minute to think about this answer, then I totally understand. But we always finish with, what is the one thing that you want people to take away from your interview, from this first interview with you? What's that one message you want to give people today?
Joy. Without a doubt.
Okay.
If you don't have joy, what you're doing is either incredibly philanthropic and self-sacrificing, or it's hellish. You know, like, if you're either giving so much of yourself that it's like hurting yourself, or you're doing something so intensely that it hurts you. Or like you're so, you know what I mean? Like, so whatever it is you're doing in life, man, try to do it with joy. That's what Joyride's about. Joyride's about spreading positivity, spreading health, and spreading joy.
Absolutely. You know, I love that. And I think that's a perfect way to summarize a lot of what we've spoken about. I think about finding that balance of joy, I think is really key. And yeah, that summarizes it perfectly. And it's been an absolute pleasure to have this first interview with you, Jason. I mean, I've connected with you on a personal level, just as an individual. I'm excited to see where Joyride goes and the content that you're making. And I can't wait to have you back on again in kind of like that 6 months to a year's time period. See where you're at, see where Joyride is at.
And not just me, but also the Gen Z podcast. I mean, I'm incredibly excited to help out. If you need anything visual or creative, like, Joyride is open. Like, we're happy to help, whatever that looks like for you. So, you know, I'm excited to see where we both are in 6 months.
I really appreciate that, Jason. And there you go. I think that just summarizes you live here on the podcast, why Jason is such an awesome individual, just offering his services right here and now. So amazing interview. Thank you so much for coming on, Jason. This podcast is going to be on the YouTube as always. We always encourage people to go and watch it on there, because I put more into the edit for the visual stuff, obviously, than listening to it. But you can listen to us where you normally would, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, and on other services.
Thank you for watching this great podcast and listening to it, whichever way you consume this thing. Go out, spread joy in the world, man, and make cool shit and make good shit. Sorry for cursing, Mom, but I had to do it. You can follow Joyride on social media at Joyride Pony. That is the company account. If you want to follow me, I'm at Jason Joyride. And you can catch up with us there and just be a part of the movement. If you're in need of visual or creative storytelling or resources, feel free to reach out to movie@joyride.biz. And if you're looking to, in the future, watch some really entertaining music videos and music, follow me at Jason Joyride on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. We're everywhere. And welcome to the Joyride, baby. Let's make a movie.
I love it. Yeah, and obviously all the links for his stuff will be in the description of this podcast. Thanks so much, Jason. It's been amazing. And we'll finish as we always do.
Cheers for now.